Hey, Krissy.
Yes, Jimmy.
How do pod racers stay cool on the racetrack?
How do they stay cool?
They have a lot of fans.
Stop it. Jimmy. No.
You just get better and better every week, folks.
Yeah, better is a term we can use.
Wanna buy some death stick? Roger, roger.
Jedi.
That's no moon. It's a space station.
Always a pleasure to meet you.
And my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy!
You failed your Highness. I'm a Jedi.
Hello, explorers, and welcome to the only international Star Wars podcast covering almost half the world, but only 0.5% of the galaxy. I'm not Charlie, and she's not back. She'll be back next week. And as always, thank you for joining us wherever you are in the Star Wars galaxy. Welcome back. Welcome if you're new. Thanks for joining us.
And if you are joining us today for episode 171, and if you get a chance, don't forget to give us a rating, like, share, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Jimmy, how are you doing today on this?
I am good. When you hear this, I will be 2 days away from getting Star Wars Zero Company downloaded on my PlayStation 5. I'm taking that Friday off because I got sick, and I will be gaming until we record on next Sunday.
Nice.
So I'm excited for that. And school's going okay. So how are you doing, Krissy? How's your week been so far?
It's been good. You mentioned Zero Company. I'm also very excited for that. Keep going back and forth on it because the RPGs are not my strong suit, but you can have a whole team of clone troopers, so that might be my turning point for me. So, but doing good.
Awesome. Well, let's head over and see if we've had any Star Wars adventures this week.
Is the Force.
All right. I will start us off with the Force Encounters. I put up some new 3D prints. I had the Star Wars Lego logo print that I added. I think the creator is Phil. If you go to YouTube or any of the other stuff, we have a short on it, and then we have a full episode. Kind of breaks down, build time, filament use, all that good stuff. So that's been a lot of fun. The reels have been doing well. And we get a few views on those too. So if you like them, let me know. If there's something you want me to build specifically, let me know, and we'll do a video on it. And then, dealing with a lot of new students this year, and they're all trying to wrap their head around all the Star Wars stuff in my classroom. So that's been a lot of fun, having conversations with kids, and some of them really love it. Some of them, have never seen it. One kid told me he thinks it's overrated. So we had good conversations, and yeah, just kind of a good way to start off class in a government class because, I tell the kids, you can think Star Trek is better than Star Wars. You're allowed to have your opinion and be wrong, but, we don't have to fight about it. So, I can use it for fun like that and just kind of set the tone for the class. So, yeah, that's kind of my Force Encounters for the week. Just kind of some basic, 3D builds and all that good stuff.
Nice. Yeah, definitely check out the reels on YouTube for that build you did because that was really cool. I love how you have all the little mini things around it and set up. It's very, very exciting. Also, I can only imagine you're like the perfect person for government because how, involved politics is in Star Wars. It's super relevant even in the fantasy realm. So very exciting.
I am trying to figure out a way to show episode or 2 of Andor if I can.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. Oh, I hope you get that approved. But let's see. So for my Force Encounter, I live in an area that is on the coast and it's military. So we have specifically with ships and a lot of aircrafts and things. So at certain points when you're driving, I went to the beach this past weekend, and with all of the cranes and the rigs and stuff out in the water, some parts when you're still on land, you can see them. So we're driving to the beach and I happen to look over and I see one of the rigs, but it's perfectly aligned to the point where it looks like an AT-AT.
Oh,
so nice. I was like, oh my gosh, that's terrifying. But it was really cool to see it wasn't an AT-AT, but like my brain, that's where it just automatically went. And I was like, you know what? I kind of feel like the rebels now, and that is a daunting sight to see because it was like still like foggy, so you couldn't really make it out. But it was a cool thing to see, and like my brain never turns off about Star Wars. So that's my encounter for the week.
I love that.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, folks. So we have we recorded the main show. It is long, so we're going to skip the news. Mike and I are going to cover the big topic, and I think we'll have an interesting twist on it because we've actually done some research on some numbers. So if you're interested in some of that nonsense that Cosmic Book News is pushing out, we will debunk some of that stuff on Tuesday night, the live episode. So check in with that. Otherwise, we're going to head over to our main topic and start talking with our guest.
It's just a simple jump to hyperspace and we're there. What's so tricky about that?
Plenty. Can't plot a direct course to Kessel. You might want to buckle up, baby.
All right. Well, we are going to dive into the main show here in a second. But before we get on to that, we wanted to bring back this handsome little devil. How's it going, John?
It's good, man. How are you guys?
I'm good. We're good. I'm good. How's I like that hat you're wearing, sir. For people who are on the pod listening to the podcast can't see him representing the old Pittsburgh Steelers out there in California. Yeah, some Yinzers. John, how have you been?
Good, man. It was another Sunday. We woke up today, so always a good start. And then had a good start with our Clam Fett Live stream over with Clam Mandalorian. Had some great people over there, so happy to be here and talk more Star Wars, man. That's always the point.
You have a great Sunday lineup, don't you? Star Wars, some football.
I live for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh,
Once fantasy starts, I'm going to be cooked.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah, so me and John, we finally got to meet, 2 weeks ago? Has it been 2 weeks?
Man, it feels...
3 weekends now, right?
Has it been three?
It's been 3
Still feels like last week.
Yeah. Is your car where it's supposed to be? Is it too soon for jokes? Too soon for jokes?
Every day. Well, it's like I went out there with a budget and I was like, man, I way underspent on my budget. And then I spent $300 on the rental car. And I was like, or on the impound lot, should say. And it was like, well, yep.
Yeah, that's rough. That was not a great way to end the weekend, but overall, solid weekend, I would say, right? Yeah, I mean, we got so good times.
It went too smooth.
Oh, it was nuts. It was crazy.
Something had to happen. So it was like something had to happen. It was too good of a trip. So we're all right.
Krissy's going to join us next year.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, that'll be great.
It's on my list.
So
I'm doing it.
It'll be good.
Yes.
Be good to have a co-host there and do some stuff live there. But anyways, if people don't remember, John came on with Krissy. And we did the trailer. We talked about the first 2 episodes. We talked about are we excited and all these kinds of good stuff. And you guys hadn't watched Visions yet, right? If I recall correctly. So I opened up that door to you guys with Visions. And so, or I forced you to watch at least Ninth Jedi parts 1 and 2. And it kind of comes full circle, much like the series. Today, because we're going to finalize we're going to talk about the last 4 episodes 5 through 8, briefly. Then we're going to kind of talk bigger picture stuff here. But John, before we dive into that, can you just recap what your thoughts were on episodes 1 through 4? I don't know how long ago you watched those, but can you remember, you're building up to it? Because when we did this first episode, Charlie and I stopped, and so we didn't know what was next. Krissy had gone through. And she powered through them like a champ, and she watched all 8. Do you remember how you felt about the first 4 episodes? Like, what was going through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, so I watched when we had talked about last week for doing this. I was like, okay, Saturday I went through and watched the first half, and then was going through it, and it's I think I came back to like a Star Wars story where I was really. I had completely removed this from canon for myself. It was like I was watching this strictly as just like a fan of what it was. And I really enjoyed it. I think the buildup was interesting. I mean, it felt like a classic, video game-esque, you have your predicament, your main character falls, you're going to, you go in to find your team, like you have these fights going on within the character to find themselves. You have these interactions with the bounty hunters and things like that. So I was very intrigued, but then also like I come back to the sounds again, like the sound, the animation, like it all like really hit for me. I will say there were some parts where like the main character, she was running around and like the animation on her face, like her eyes looked like they were like a little wide sometimes. But that was like my only nitpick. But like other than that, like how they set up Nawan and like the enemy and like his whole predicament, like I think they did a really good job of showing that background and showing that story and kind of leading up to the finale.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, it was kind of, for me, it had been a week or so because we took a break for the new D23 stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like that. And Krissy, I know you had said you liked the second half better.
Yeah, I did like it.
So
Yeah, I think it just the first half is definitely just building you up for what happens in the second half, and I think it's a lot. The story gets a lot more interesting and intriguing in the second half, just because of we'll probably get into it, but like what's going on with Kara, and then all of these elements, like her dad, and like this Jedi, the Jedi army finally coming to fruition. So like, and finally facing this evil bad guy, like it's just we're getting to the payoff finally. So
yeah. All right. Yeah, that's what. Good stuff. So yeah, we're going to start off with episode 5, The Storm of Violence. And this is a time jump after a battle between Nawaam, Margrave Juro, which ends poorly for Juro, and Kara. And she runs away and she runs and hides and she runs to Octo. It looks like she runs to the Shire personally. Did you feel like she was living in Hobbiton, inside, house in the hill? I just have some notes here. I said, Nawaam's taking over because now he's like crazy powerful. Kara's hiding in the Shire. I put in quotes in the Shire because I felt like it was like, Lord of the Rings-esque. I put Isha is weird. Those duckbill platypus looking things, man. That was kind of weird. Then I don't know.
Kara like offering up a lightsaber, like to the,
like here you go, little kid. Here's a lightsaber.
What?
She just, that's something I want to talk about a little bit later. She just like, here, have this super dangerous. It's like Luke Skywalker when he was like looking into it, and I New Hope, like, hey, what's this end? Wonk.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been pretty awesome if that would have been like payoff. So I have just the fact that like in this episode, it's another one of those where the Jedi hides and it causes everyone around them pain and misery and suffering. She would have stayed away from them. They would have been fine. And then, so I guess we can start there. Like, let's cap that first half before she goes. This is the one where she goes onto the ship, right? Yeah. Before she goes onto that ship, that's the second half of this episode where she goes all Cal Kestis end of seconds. But how did we feeling about this time jump? Where Nawaam's at? Like, I mean, did this work for you guys? Did it feel like it was like the stakes were like, oh, because you had Ethan,
Kevin.
Kevin as Krissy likes to call him. Damn it, Kevin. And Holman, and then I can't remember the other guy's name, but you had those guys off doing something. They're in some city, and then you had Kara off all by herself hiding, and she's done it again. She's ruined everything she touches, and it seems like a pretty common trope in Star Wars. Well, in anything really, the hero always runs away as part of that hero's journey. But how are we feeling about where this time jump starts us up? Was it fine with you guys? Like, did you feel like there was something missing in between, or did they handle it well?
Take it away, Jenna.
I was fine with it. Like for me, it was like, with how it ended, it was like, okay, the friendlies scatter, they have to go do their thing. Everyone's finding themselves kind of vibe. And I don't mind the time jump. And then like, you kind of pick up right where we pick up, where we left off, where it's like, that Sith user comes in, and I forget his name off the top of my head. But he comes in and starts to, ravage the planet, and that brings her back out. But it's like I didn't really mind it. Like I liked how it went from it kind of led straight into the crisis again. It was like, okay, we skipped time, but we're right back into it. Like nothing has really changed too much.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. Because like, I feel like sometimes when you time jump, you have to like catch back up with whatever's going on. And this one didn't feel like that at all. It kind of just established where you were on this planet with her and the relationship she had with like these indigenous people that lived there, these duck platypus people. So yeah, it definitely like you're like, oh, okay, this is what's going on. This is where she is. She's like in her grieving process, basically. We're coming in like, I guess, towards the tail end of that. So yeah, it was a good way to do a time jump because I don't think it left you so disoriented. I mean, granted, you could just play these back to back, which is nice, but I think if you ever had to like stop and pause and you came back to 5, it's not like, okay, where are we? Everyone's different, which leads me to believe that the time jump is significant enough for us to mention it, but not significant enough for like, because like Kara didn't age, like nobody's aged or anything. It's not like years have gone by. It's just like a couple months. So I think that's like a really manageable skip for people. Yeah. So it definitely plays to the story well. It just gives you a moment that like everyone has taken a beat and Nawaam is able to like get his, able to spread his influence across the galaxy within this time frame as well. It's just setting up for like, I guess, the final battle coming up.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So then, we had that I mean, we've seen this in Clone Wars and we've seen it in Rebels and stuff like that, the good guys. And then of course they make the bad guys bad because they just start bombing on them.
Yeah.
Now I can say this with no hate in my heart, but I wasn't too sad that this village was getting bombed because I was sick of those noises that those things were making. So I was like, blow them up. But I thought, I don't know, the action in this one, I got a couple of notes. I put down, I like the design of the Jedi Hunters, which comes into play. And then I put Kara as effing fools up on that ship. Here comes a red lightsaber. Those notes before it happened. Yeah. How did you guys feel about that action? I mean, it really kind of called back to me. There was a lot from 5 through 8 where I was like, ooh, that's like this, that's like that. Like, this is some Tross stuff. This is some like the Last Jedi stuff. This one just reminded me, she went nuts up in that ship. I loved it. I don't know how you guys felt about that. And then kind of that starts to really play into, that was the big mystery for us leading into this was like, this lightsaber's changing colors and all that stuff. And she had, was it green? Then it went to silver, I think. And then she went, and then she goes to red. So how are you feeling about that, Krissy? Like, what did you think about that scene and just her fall or not fall? I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a theme on this podcast, though. Me and Jimmy are going to differ on creature sounds. I like these little guys.
You also like the Varactals, so come on.
And the Varactals. But I will say right before she goes and does her spree on the ship, I did get a little emotional the first time I watched this. When is it Isha, the little baby creature? When he was holding the lightsaber, it's like I think that was such a beautifully done scene of like how imposing this force is, and you can even like connect it to the Empire within like regular Star Wars as well. It's like you're just like one little person, and you just want to try so hard to take down this enemy that seems like so enormous compared to you. And then you have Kara, who is essentially like the Jedi that's supposed to be there, and just like everything on how that's set up I really, really liked. It made me like very surprisingly made me very emotional. Like she's just trying to protect everyone, and you're gonna mess up and you're not gonna always do your best, but then leading to the ship she definitely goes on a bit of a murder spree is what I would say. And that's something that I always think about when I watch Star Wars. I think I mentioned it when I watched them all as well. Like, the Jedi are so like, hey, only fight when you need to. Don't take out people unless you have to. And like the High Republic does that very well, I think. Like they're always talking about it, but like mainstream, like the movies and the shows, I feel like they're just taking people out left and right. I know in the Clone Wars they're droids, but like it's just something that I think sticks with me a lot is like how easily that rule kind of goes out the window. It's a bit different for Kara because I know she's going through something, but yeah, she even like tries to warn them, I guess, to be like, hey, I'm gonna kill you if you don't get off this ship. And it's like, I don't think that makes it better, actually. I think that's just like, hey, get out of my way is what you're trying to say. But I really did like the scene, even though that's like my one like overall beef with Star Wars and the Jedi is like how they're so willing to just like take out people when they need to. It's like kind of a convenience rule in my mind. But I thought that like the red lightsaber reveal was my favorite scene in this episode. I loved that, how it just like pans down and the red overtakes her. And even when she's like trying to get it out of her hand, it's like a hesitancy. It like won't let go. And like how like rage and fear and stuff can consume you. I think that was such a beautiful like visual way of representing those feelings. So I really liked it. I really liked how they led up to it and how they revealed it. So what about you, John?
Yeah, I'm kind of the way you say it's a convenience is hilarious to me because like I think of like myself whenever I play like any Jedi game or
Mhm.
Battlefront or anytime I have a lightsaber, and it's like, so guess what I'm gonna do is use this lightsaber. And so like, there's a very like it's comical to me that you say that because for me it's like, yeah, they're gonna do it. She's like, hey, stop what you're doing, bad guys, or else I'm gonna do this. And the bad guys are like, well, we're bad guys, so like,
Yeah.
nah. But she goes through it, and I think the red lightsaber is a killer aspect, especially the way they pan the color, like you said, where it's you have the little kid standing there frightened, and then she just drops it and runs away. But it's still like think about. There has to be times where like, at the Jedi and who they're supposed to be, and they're just chopping down, whether it's the Old Republic and they're actually chopping down people or, there's got to be some way they feel about it where it's like, yeah, you're using your weapon of peace to commit atrocities at some point, or as Kara did, she killed like 30 people and then you get down the line and her dad's like, did you have to kill somebody? And it's like, oh yeah. And it's like, you didn't have to do that,
One or two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or 50.
Which
Oh man, yeah. Well, go ahead, Krissy.
But I guess it kind of feeds into is this the episode where are they mercenaries or bounty hunters? I don't know who they are. Where he's like talking about like the power and justice.
That's the next one.
That's the next one.
That's
the next episode. I put down Beto dropping some knowledge.
Yeah.
So. Knowledge bomb. So yeah, I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. I was surprised that the saber wasn't red by the time she was finished on that ship, like because they kept showing it. I just kept waiting for it to like start moving while she was slicing fools. They did that some of that weird not weird, just some of that anime type animation where it was like she's going sideways with the background moving behind her and she's just like and her face is changing and she's just slicing and dicing. And I kept just waiting for like glimpses of red, but I do like the way that they had that little Isha like freak out and see it. And like you said, that was pretty cool the way they did that. Then she turns and hightails it out of there. And that takes us to episode 6, Light of the Force. Dun, dun, dun. My first note is those creatures are really annoying.
You're like, oh my gosh.
Man. So this is the one where the bounty hunters beat Beto and I think it's Et. The two guys, they capture all the little, I don't know what they're called, the little duckbill platypus people, tie them up, and then they say, all right, go get her, or we're going to, tell her we'll hurt these people, and she has to come back. And of course, she's a Jedi, so she does. And then we got a Force Ghost scene on here. And then she finds her piece. Then at the end, there's a twist we'll talk about here in a second. I was not expecting how this episode ends. I was like, oh, like that was pretty cool, I thought. So we'll get into that here in a minute. But I don't know. Like I said, we've seen this before. I mean, that's kind of hard to do new and original stuff. However, the end of this episode I thought was kind of new. Like I was like, oh, dang, like I did not see that coming. How'd you guys feel about that whole thing? She gave up too easy, did it make sense? And then just the knowledge that Beto drops on her, like, how many people have you killed in the name of justice? And it's just like slap across the face. And it does make you think though, because Nawaam thinks he's doing the right thing. The bad guys usually do. I mean, Thanos thought he was doing the right thing, and other groups and, actual historical figures who are committing awful crimes, I guess they think they're doing the right thing, even though it's kind of hard to wrap your brain around what they're doing at the time. But how do you guys feel about that? And then we'll talk about the twist at the end there. So you can just kind of talk about that whole episode. John, we'll let you go ahead and start on this one.
Yeah, I think it was one of those things where we talk about giving up too easily. And it was like, I feel like at this point, she's still she's still a teenager. She's still young. Like, she's been beaten. Her, like, everything's not been going her way. She's just been, so, like, I think she's got that reasoning to where it's like, okay, it's like, I can put myself in this position to at least get close to my father, like, and that's the end goal for her. So it's like, if it helps these people be at peace, which again is part of being a Jedi, where it's like putting yourself at risk to help others. It's like, okay, trade their safety for my own. The twist that we'll talk about is one of my favorite. I think I really liked it. And these two these two bounty hunters were like I really like these characters. Like they grew on me like really quickly for the amount of time that in this episode we see them. And we talk about Beto dropping knowledge, and it's like, he has one of those quotes where it's like, power is power. You're strong or weak. It's got nothing to do with justice or evil. And he just like keeps berating her with like things that discourage her more or less. And so like it's interesting to get to the point where she's like more or less beaten, has that come to terms, and then probably has one of the coolest escapes that I've seen used with her lightsaber, where she like ignites it from the box and pulls it out to like equip it. Like, that was sweet to me. It was like, why has no one ever done this before? Like, for how many people have we seen captured and they haven't been like, let me force pull that over here. So I thought that was great application. And then we get into the fight scene,
Yeah, that fight scene is that in this episode too?
Yeah.
That fight? Oh yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, it's a good scene.
Krissy, what did you think about Beto dropping the knowledge?
So these are my original notes from before I rewatched them. Apparently, at the time, I put "'twas good." I kind of liked Beto. I don't know what that means. That's the only note I have for this episode. I was like, okay, but I guess present.
Did you really write down "'twas good"?
I did too. Yep.
Checking out the old English
I don't know
for
if I
us.
can show it on on the book. Oh God, where is it?
Look at how organized this lady is. Was good. I'll zoom in.
I don't know. But I guess present me will try to decipher what that means. But yeah, it's funny because like I said, the convenience rule about like the Jedi and how like they'll kind of throw away their no kill rule. But then like Beto starts talking and you're like, okay, well maybe there's a point. Like, where's the line of like when you have to take a life in the name of justice, or are you just being an oppressor still? Like, where are we drawing these lines, and who's power scaling this? And like, where do you stand with good versus evil, and what do you have to do in order to pursue, I guess, being on the right side and being good and being a Jedi? So it's all very interesting. It's one of those conversations that like I said a convenience rule, but like this is a discussion I could have like a conversation about, and who knows, based on the day, my mind would be like, oh, okay, that makes sense, or like this doesn't. But it's something that I always think about within this franchise, is like where that line is. And this is a great conversation of like him basically confronting her for it, because she did just like take out a bunch of people for like in the name of good and reuniting with her father and trying to save the galaxy. So that's definitely my favorite part about this episode. And we get it from like the view of a bounty hunter who just wants to go after the strongest people. So it's such an interesting perspective. I really, like I said, 'twas good. I like Beto. He's great. But yeah, that's all I really had for like the beginning half of this episode before we get into that amazing fight scene. I really enjoyed how that was drawn out in the ending. So
go ahead and dive into that for us then.
Yeah, so because she still has the red lightsaber at this point, and the other guy, is it Ita, is very much like taunting her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is very much taunting her and is trying to get her to be consumed by this rage, and it's working. And I think finally, like, she has this moment of like all of her past teachings with Juro, and she just like visibly it's shown she like reaches like what I would call like inner peace, like this balance, which I think is what this representation of the silver lightsaber is supposed to be. It's like where all your emotions, you just put them aside and kind of just like focus on like what you need to do, and you're not letting one thing, good, light side or dark side, kind of consume you, which I think is interesting concept, because it's a heavy topic within Star Wars about these gray Jedi. So like having a silver lightsaber is quite an interesting aspect to this that I wonder if I'm interpreting it correctly of like having this like true balance with both of them is kind of how I see it. And then she kicks butt and she does a great job. And her and Beto have like a very interesting heart to heart at the end. I guess not heart to heart, but she defeats him and then he gets a lightsaber and I'm like, okay, sure, that's great. But I love that he ignites it and he's surprised like, oh, it lit, I have a lightsaber now. So it's very interesting. I liked it a lot and I think he's a great character. But what do you guys think of that?
John, did you think that lightsaber was going to be red when he turned it on?
You know, like a part of me did, but I was really happy when it wasn't because it was like this dude's like he's just a bounty hunter, bro. Like he's probably got no evil like if we're gonna talk about the twist here in a little bit, we'll get to it. But it's like he's got no evil intent. He's just there for business. So it's like, you know, I love that he's just a normal dude with a lightsaber. Like it would be me turning it on. Like I think it's blue, cool, like awesome. And then, you know, like we get the fight scene is just, I like that you really see, like the atonement of her and her lightsaber. It's like, that's one thing we see throughout Star Wars is like the Jedi connecting with their lightsaber. And so like going from that, I love the color switching within this show. Like, I think it's something that's very different. It's something that's a very interesting idea. And I really enjoy that.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool, and especially the way it ends, which we'll talk about kind of big picture stuff. The way her lightsaber, the color it ends with, she goes through the whole rainbow basically in these episodes. But yeah, the fact that Beto switches over and like Krissy says, she hands him that lightsaber and it's blue. For me, like you said too, John, like it's like, you know, we know this isn't canon, so these things work a little bit differently. And I know there's one part where I put Cara is the Oprah of lightsabers. You get a lightsaber and you get a lightsaber. So I mean, it's in the next episode, but I kind of dug it. Like, you know, if your heart's in the right place, and I think it kind of goes back to the third episode when Margrave Jero said, "I don't need powerful people. I need people who will stand up for others." And I thought, like, that's kind of cool, you know, and kind of a call. I mean, I know they don't mention that again, but I feel like the way she's handing these things out, like they're, you know, lifesavers or whatever. I thought that was a pretty cool twist. And I don't recall. I mean, I know the rules don't really work that way in normal canon Star Wars or even in Legends. Like you know, you could do all this training and all this stuff, but like if you're a good person, you can be a Jedi. I guess I don't know. They never show them using any stuff. But yeah, like, how do you guys, I mean, anything else about that twist? Like, I mean, I just thought that was kind of clever. You know, he sits there and he you know, beats her down with his words in a way, kind of like a, what's the character on Mandalorian, the bounty hunter that Mando and him, Mayfeld, knowledge, that kind of like a Mayfeld episode where he's like, you know, what's you know, you're outside to these guys and kind of all perspective. So any last thoughts on that before we move into the next episode?
I think her lightsaber didn't turn silver in this episode, did it? Did I say that? I get him.
I'm pretty sure it did.
It did?
I'm pretty sure it did.
I think it turns silver whenever she's in that shroud and Ed's trying to blow her up. And
oh, okay.
And it changes. Like, I guess had I known it was going to change so often, I would have kept like a running tab.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So, like I watched
a drinking game, Star Wars drinking every time her lightsaber changes colors.
I watched these so long ago and I like did that whole like thought and I was like, wait, did that happen in this episode or was that a different one? Okay, never mind. Sorry. But
I also really liked how the bounty hunter was just like, all right, cool, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's like such a again, business, like there's no bias, no like loyalties. It's like, hey, I could have killed you and I'm keeping you alive, so like you're with me right now. And he's like, all right, you know, like whatever, like I guess, and he like laughs about it, like disappointingly, like, oh, you know, like, okay, you're right, like let's go.
I thought it was funny. Yeah, he brings up, he's like, don't worry, I'm not mad. Like, it's part of the job.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang, like, that's
watch his homie dust it, but
that's a healthy way to look at things.
Yeah.
You know, this guy has it together. So
he might be more stable than any Jedi I've ever met.
I know. Yeah, he might be the balance that they need. So episode 7, the Jedi Strike Back. I thought this was kind of cool because we go back to where it all started on, was it High Isla, the floating ends up being a floating kyber crystal. Apparently, who knew?
Yeah, the asteroid.
Yeah, that asteroid that the very first episode is on. I also started really noticing the music, a lot of John Williams stuff mixed in there, and then after the first, as soon as I heard it, it felt like some Tross stuff like was in there, and just different musics and just different, I don't know, just kind of those different beats of John Williams music. And I mean, it's straight up in there, then it's mixed in with other stuff. So I thought that was pretty clever. And then I couldn't unhear it after that, though. Like once they grabbed me with that, I was kind of locked into the music. I put down there the Oprah moment. You get a lightsaber and you get a lightsaber. And I put honest moment. This is where I got the feels. Is whenever they're all standing around, you know, they're all got back together and they're like, this must be the new Jedi Order. And I was like, whoa, like, why did that? Like, I honestly, like, you know, because I was home, my wife was with her sister watching Hairspray or something like that. And I was like, whoa, like, what? And I stopped it. And I was just kind of like, oh, the new Jedi. I didn't realize maybe how badly I want that in Star Wars. How much I want Rey and I want Aaron Pierre and I want, you know, Broom Boy and I want Flynn Gray's character. I want that. What we got in this second half, these last 2 episodes, I'm like, this is what I've been predicting for like a Rey film, like this big, you know, Avengers style team up.
Build up.
And I thought these last 2 episodes were pretty epic. But this one here, like, I don't know what it was about that moment. You know, they're all standing around. She's giving out the lightsabers. Everyone's there to fight for the people. And I was like, dang, like this is the first time I thought, they need to like pay attention to this. Like Lucasfilm and Dave Filoni need to pay attention. Like it's not that hard to move forward. Like they just told this story and, you know, these little increments and it's gotten us here and it felt earned to me. Like I know like the Jedi work differently than what we're used to and, you know, training and all that stuff. But in that universe, that worked really well. And then I just thought of like Han Solo's, oh, it's bigger kind of thing. It's only, you know, I just kind of laughed about it when they talk about the crystal. But how'd you guys feel about this episode? I mean, there's a lot that happens in here. I've got Geno. He's like General Grievous on crack.
Oh,
yeah.
And then I put, that's a big ass kyber crystal in my notes. So I guess just talk about the episode, how you feel about it. Again, and at that moment impacted you, or if you didn't even notice it, like, I'm like, dang, like that was like, whoa, like I didn't realize how much I wanted that. Go ahead, Krissy.
yeah, I don't think at the moment, I guess I got like a little bit of like when they said it. And I think like you said, Jimmy, it's like, gosh, I want it so badly. Like let's just get back to a new order. Let's start that going. And it's so like, and kind of like you said, like we can have it. They did it here and it was done well, but it's so like, it's kind of sad they just won't do it in canon. Like we have a great example of it playing out in this non-canon story that I don't know how much of the community is going to watch or see this, but they should just go for it. As much as I love hanging around in the Clone Wars era and the early Empire era, I really am just like ready to see something new. And I mean, we can always come back to these eras we love. We've been doing it, but like I'm so ready just to see Rey and a new beginning for Star Wars with like this Jedi, with the Jedi. So yeah, I completely agree with you. It's something that's like, yeah, I want it and it's right here, but it's not canon and I want it so badly. And then is this the episode? Is it next episode or this episode where they start whacking the crystal? Because like that part got to me a bit.
The next episode.
Okay, I'll talk about it with Kevin. But I was like, come on, guys.
Come on, Kevin.
For you, those of you who don't know, I don't know, John, if you saw the other episode. I call him Kevin because I forgot what his name was. And like we didn't see him until like episode 3 or 4 of this season. And they were like, it's Ethan. And I was like, oh, I knew it was something really basic, but I just couldn't remember his name. So
we have all these abstract names, and then there's Ethan.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah. And Charlie and I mentioned that last time. And we're like, all these names, and it's Ethan. And I was like, I'm not far off with Kevin. But anyways, getting back on track. Yeah, I think there was like that big robot they were fighting that was like a version of is it the Droideka from Clone Wars.
Yes.
I
Yeah, it was
loved that.
massive.
That was cool.
It's like an old Republic looking droid.
Yeah, I really enjoyed seeing that. But yeah, other than like really the Jedi Order part and that big droid, it's a pretty solid episode for me. I did really enjoy it. I don't really have much else to say. What about you, John? What are you thinking about with this episode?
I think my favorite part of the episode is actually the fight between Zima and Geno. And it's like Geno is like fully roboted up from like being chopped up by Zima the first time. He's like coming for revenge, and like I like that. I think one thing that live action Star Wars could take from part of this is like the lightsaber fights don't have to be extravagant. It's like, you know, like the way they fight in this show, like especially Zima, is like it's very quick but like precise. And it's like, you know, he had like Geno walks in, gives this whole like "you caught me" monologue and vibe, and it's like they walk up to fight, and then, you know, Zima like two pieces him really quickly, and it's just like he's laying there on the ground, and his body almost like a dead Grievous comparison, where it's like, you know, if you're just seeing the eye basically, that's like kind of fading out. But I just think it's just like I like seeing lightsabers do lightsaber things, and I think this show does a great job of that, where it's like the strikes, the damage, like a lot of it is very concise. And then I just really like the space battles and the application that they have, where it's like these immense fleets coming in to, like, you know, whether it's Nawaam's fleet coming in to take the asteroid and like prep for that, prep, and then you know, like prep the tractor beam and things like that. And it's like, now we're just gonna take the whole crystal. Like I don't need like a bunch of these. I just need the big one. And then like having the Mass Effect vibe, where it's like you're trying to convince these people to work together for the betterment of everybody, rather than like being betrayed and all that stuff. So I thought it was a really good episode overall. Like probably my second favorite episode, maybe.
Yeah.
Nice.
The action in this one I thought might be some of the best we got. Especially that droidica that you guys talk about, how she just like appears on it all of a sudden, and she's like, you're like, oh boy, like I thought she was pretty cool. Like some of those scenes were awesome. And of course we get into the very last episode 8, the Ninth Jedi. And I have so many questions about the title of this and how this episode ends, and how, like, when this started way back when, and was it 2019 or 2020 or whatever? Well, when did Vision season 1 come out? But and they called this episode the Ninth Jedi, and then the way it ends. But my notes are very minimal. I said crazy epic space battle. It's pretty cool, and I didn't put "twas cool" though, so I guess I'm not as cool as Krissy. And then I noticed that Nawaam, I know we talked about this last time, like who he sounds like. I felt like he sounded like Anakin. Like whiny Anakin, but it sounded like it was a mixture of, like, the cadence was very Anakin-esque, but he also still had mixes of Chimere and Ben when he talked about, or Ben Solo, I thought, but really kind of was like, I was like, is that Matt Lantner like doing the voice all of a sudden? Like, why does he sound like Hayden Christensen in, you know, probably, you know, Revenge of the Sith or something like that, just the whininess and like, you don't get it, kind of thing. But how did you guys feel about this episode? How do you feel about the end of it? How do you feel about them using their lightsabers to smack around that big giant crystal, I guess, because Krissy wanted to talk about that. And then we'll talk about the very, very end, you know, the new council, and then handing the lightsaber off. So, but overall, how did you guys feel about this? Did it wrap it up for you?
I can go. I can have my grievance about whacking the kyber crystal. I'm gonna be so.
This is a family show, Krissy. This is a family show.
Hit it with a lightsaber, nothing. Or ignite it.
I was like, okay, everyone has their sabers, and we're fighting the big guy. We're gonna have everyone's gonna do their thing. We're gonna have moments for everybody with their sabers. And then when Ethan was like, what if I just whack it? It's like, no, Ethan, you're a Jedi. Use the Force or something. And I guess sometimes...
Put your hand on it.
Yeah, I guess sometimes we just gotta whack things to have them work. But I just, like... I had to pause it for a second. I was like, they are not. And then it didn't work the first time, which got me. And I was like, okay, we're gonna think this through. Think of another plan. And then they all just started at it. And I was like, what is happening? And it worked. Which I guess maybe sometimes you just need brute force, but I was expecting just like a little bit something else. Because we have, like, again, these 3 cool Jedi. I think Beecho is there. He just got it. I was like, they're all gonna like commune or do something with this kyber crystal, because like you can talk to them sort of. And no, we're just gonna hit it. It's fine. It's fine. I'm over it. But kind of my other grievance for this series is that we had 9 Jedi, and not all of them had like a fight scene with their lightsabers. And I guess maybe it's just like more of a symbolic thing at this point, but I really was looking forward to having all 9 of them fight against Nawaam. I thought this was like what we were leading up to. And like the space battle and the other like one-on-one battles was like really cool. I was just looking forward to like this new Jedi Order taking down like this big threat to them, and we didn't get that, and it was kind of like a little bit of a disappointing payoff for me. But that's what I wanted. But other than that, I guess like it all worked out and it played out well, and I did overall enjoy this series. It's just those are my 2 big grievances at the end of this series. We're all in episode 8, so how are you feeling, John? Are you also mad they just whacked it?
So I have a comment on that, but I think that some of my bigger takeaways was one with the space scene, the space fight. I really love the space fight. I love me a good space fight, and like seeing when they were panning it, there's a shot of like a ship and the front opens and another ship comes out of it and then fires 4 torpedoes from it. And it was very like realistic application for military ballistic missiles, but I was just like, oh, that's so rad to see like different things that you usually don't see, like different spaceships, different like applications of like weaponry in Star Wars and aspects of like that. So that was the first thing. The second thing was the fight scene between Nawan and Zima, how he leaves Zima alive. It's like a very like, you're still my master, like I'm not gonna kill you, like kind of Anakin Obi-Wan thing where it's like, yeah, I don't have the heart to do this. My mission's already accomplished. And then the third thing with the hitting it, one of my favorite things was Beto shooting it.
Oh,
like
yeah.
in any video game, anytime I got a weapon and I have an issue, I'm shooting. And I love that he looks at his gun and then shoots it. And then it's like, you may have just killed like 5 million people. You don't know where that laser ended up. But I love that it was just like the crystal reacting to the blaster and just igniting that power and escalating it through the galaxy. It was like interesting,
Yeah, I thought that it was kind of, Krissy, I have to admit, like I was expecting some kind of force related breaking up the kyber crystal, but then it just started hitting it and I was like, okay. And I was kind of like, come on, guy, like, break this damn thing or whatever. But, and then the fight, like you said, John, I thought that was pretty good. And I really liked when Kara goes up there and they start to fight. She thinks her dad is dead, and then that's when they're battling and they both got their silver lightsabers, and they're fighting and there's no emotion. And then in the end, it kind of returns to the roots of Star Wars though as a series, because he's got the red lightsaber at the end and she's got the green lightsaber at the end, and he's like, you would give up to follow the Jedi way. And she's like, yeah, I would do good. I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be neutral. I had never thought of the gray Jedi because I've always been kind of a fan of that concept of the gray Jedi.
Yeah.
This ended the way this ends between those two characters. I was like, that's kind of valid. Like, it's being in the middle is kind of a cop out. Like, you're not committing to either side. Like, and I had never thought of that before. I always was kind of a fan of like this gray Jedi, like, you're somewhere in the middle because there's like a balance or whatever. But I think the good is there to balance the bad, like the evil. Like we see that a ton in Star Wars. But I really enjoyed that aspect of the way this ends, and then the fact that she doesn't kill him,
him having that outer body experience with his Force Ghost was crazy.
Yeah.
It's like
it'd be like Doctor Strange, knocks his, and then they show her like turning off her saber with the Force and like not hitting him and stuff, like just basically showing that she killed you. Like, how many times did she kill him, in that fight scene over and over again if she hadn't turned off her saber every time, which I was like, what is happening? And I know that they move faster than we're supposed to be able to see, but I kind of like them seeing that, play by play that he was witnessing. They're like, let's see, throw the flag. I want to see this replay.
Yeah, take it to New York. Like, we got to see this. We got to look this back.
So, but yeah, I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I thought that was pretty cool. And And of course, at the end, they're all decked out in their Jedi counts, or they're around the round table. You get your King Arthur type stuff going on there. And then, you had Juro there as a Force ghost. So I'm not sure how that works, because I thought he was
Hanging out,
dream.
just
He was
chilling,
Yeah.
dude.
he was chilling, like, hey, I'm here. Which I'm like, all right, that's cool. But then the end, Zima, he walks down and he opens up the gate, opens up the prison door, and he just hands the lightsaber to Nawaam, and you hear, that he smiles. He has like this softened smile, or I don't know if it's an evil smile. It's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna be good now. But then you hear it goes black, and then you hear the lightsaber ignite, and you're just like, huh. Like, whoa, like, what was that about? And I had read somewhere, I was doing some research, that, like, Nawaam's the Ninth Jedi, because technically he's number 9. So I was like,
Yeah.
well, that's fine, but he wasn't even in the story when we first started the series back in Visions Volume 1. You know what I mean? Like, it's progressed quite a bit. So, do you guys have any issues with the way that ended? I mean, did it make you, I know one of the questions, the last question we're going to ask, do you want another season or whatever? But I mean, do you have any issues with the way the episode or this arc ended with that?
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I was sitting there, and like, we get to the council, and like, having him, like, behind the red laser door, that's fine, cool, whatever, like, keep him as a prisoner. And then Zemo walking up, and it's like, okay, he's gonna give him like some monologue, okay, and then like turning the thing off and just handing it over, and I was like, did this dude, like, yesterday not just try to, like, wipe out the galaxy in the name of, justice type of thing? But I think that kind of sets up where I'm looking at is like the season 2 of a greater threat of, like, we can get into it when we talk about it. But yeah, I don't know. I was just taken back where it's like, man, the big bad, and it's like we're just handing him the strongest weapon in the galaxy again, just like that,
Yeah. I love Star Wars loves to redeem their villains, is what I'm gonna say. They really love to redeem their villains. And again, this is a great callback to Anakin and Vader. He does kind of the same path, where it's like, and that can be a debate, is if Anakin really deserved his redemption to begin with everything that he did in the past, and does Nawaam deserve this redemption? Because I believe this is like what this is supposed to represent. I'm pretty sure if we saw that lightsaber, it was either going to be blue or green, or some kind of color that wasn't red. And it's like him kind of coming to terms with like what he did and accepting it and being redeemed in the eyes of this council. Cause like, so yeah, that's really what I thought about it. He's such an interesting villain, because he's like psychologically affected by like what happened to him as a child. And it's such an interesting commentary on like growing up and the things that people do around you and how that can personally affect you. So like, he saw Zima take out his master, and he was like, okay, well, this is like what I'm supposed to do. That guy didn't feel anything when he took him out, but not realizing that I think his master was, backhanding and doing some dealings and stuff. And like how that can affect him growing up to the point where he's like, I just need to take away all of my emotions so I don't feel anything ever again. So nothing can hurt me and nothing can get in my way, and like I'm not distracted by stuff. So it's such an interesting concept for this villain. And then all of a sudden to have him come here and be like a Jedi again, where like you do feel, but you're supposed to like control it and kind of let things go and be redeemed. It's an interesting path that he's gone on. And I do hope if they do a season 2 that we explore a bit more with him, I guess, like psychologically, and when he is up against like a threat that's much bigger. Hopefully that made sense.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it was a weird, I mean, you bring it up to everyone's like, he's redeemed, and you think about all the stuff that Anakin did, with his Youngling Slayer 5000,
Yeah.
in the the
massacred
temple.
people.
Yeah, just massacre and sand, Tuskens and everyone else that gets in his way, and then everyone's like, oh, he's redeemed because he threw the Emperor down the chute.
Yeah. 'Cause his
But
son
yeah,
told
so
him.
I guess it's like they're kind of asking some questions from like the mainstream, like the canon stuff that they can't really or are afraid to tackle. Because I mean, I would assume that's kind of like, anyone who's watched this, it's got to be like, whoa, what's next? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what color was that red? Does he strike him down? Does he, does it start all over again kind of thing? But anyways, yeah, I thought that was a pretty interesting way to think, because you have the Jedi Council, and then you have that little aspect of it at the end, and it just, boom, that's it. It's over. And so, I mean, we have no idea, what's next or whatever. So, but, yeah, I think, as we dive into some of these questions, we're going to go into this next segment called was this actually good Star Wars? So we do have a ton of questions. I know we've gone for almost 50 minutes already. So we'll just kind of shorten some of these questions up in each section and maybe hit some of the bigger ones. So Chris, you want to take us through this?
Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, so like the lightsaber color concept was like really big throughout this whole thing, and how that pays off with like the wielder in real time and how it reacts to their feelings. Do you think, like that was a good concept? Do you think it's like justified, that payoff of like anytime it changed and like made sense with what the character was like going through?
Go ahead, John.
I thought it was really cool. I think this is one thing where it's like, this isn't. I think for me, it's like from the start, it's like I'm not connecting this to what I know to be Star Wars. It's like it's not the bleeding crystal that I'm used to. It's not that same story. Like it's just different. And like they set that with the at first episode with Zima crafting the lightsabers, talking about how it responds to the user. And I just thought it was a really interesting application, and like it was a cool way to show like bad guy. We always see like bad guys have the red lightsaber, and then Nawaam with the blue lightsaber. It's like, oh, when these villains are right in thinking what their actions are justified, it's like, yeah, they're in their head, they're not quote unquote evil. So I like seeing that where it's like it's a different application. It's to the user. It could happen to anybody. It happens with your emotions. Like if you're angry, like yeah, that makes sense that your lightsaber could be red if you're trying to kill people and you're actively like have those thoughts and emotions. So I really liked it.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was cool. The payoff for me worked at the end, like the very, very end with the red and the green saber popping up, and you got your Luke Skywalker and your Darth Vader that we grew up with, from the original trilogy. And it's just like, oh, dang, like, yeah, there it is, all these questions. And it's kind of fun the way it like takes this whole great Jedi stuff and, it kind of turns it on, in my opinion, turned it on its head a little bit, or it just gave me different ways to look at it. I don't know if it turned it on its head or changed it for anybody else, but I thought so. The only thing that I had expected was like sabers to change while they were fighting, when they started getting mad at each other, or like that big scene where Kara goes in there and just starts cutting fools down. I really expected, like, as when she was doing that in evil, but maybe like you said, John, like she thought she was doing the right thing because she's like protecting those people, those duckbill platypus people. Like she's she's protecting them, so she doesn't think she's wrong. But then that brings us back to the whole thing: how many people have you killed in the name of justice, kind of thing. So yeah, I thought it was a great payoff. I thought it was unique. We've seen a little bit of it, with like Elzar Man in the High Republic. With him dealing with having struck some people down and things like that out of anger or fear, really more than fear than anger, I think. But yeah, it worked for me for sure.
I agree. No, I think the lightsabers in this series were one of the strongest aspects of it. I really loved how they played around with that concept. I'm a big fan of, I think, legends, or at least in a video game, like the colors of the sabers meaning something. So like that concept coming back in any way, I really enjoy that. I do wish it was canon. That's like something I just like. I think it's just a fun little lore bit. But so some critics, including me, I think our first review of half of the review of this, our first half of the review for this series, that's what I want to say. I mentioned, and some other people mentioned, that like this planet destroying weapon coming back is kind of like, okay, we've done this before. It's a Death Star. So like, what do you guys think of that? Like, do you think that's like a tired plot point, or do you think that this kind of weapon of mass destruction is something that was executed well and like is something that's kind of needed for this story? Or how do you feel about it?
I'm kind of torn because in this universe, is this the first time it's happened? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like in this universe, this could be the first big laser. Like I said in my notes, I was like, oh, it's bigger. It's more dangerous. But I thought it was fine. I don't know what you can do in that short amount of time outside of that threat. I mean, that's an immediate threat. The only thing I can really compare it to is like what Mark Yonro wants to do, and that's like the first time I think a bad guy really like steps up,
Great villain.
being a bad guy. Like I feel like he makes Palpatine and Vader kind of look like chumps with what he wants to do. I don't want to ruin that for anybody that hasn't read it or is in the middle of it, but I thought it was fine. I mean, it was different. It was, pulling that big giant kyber crystal out. We actually see that aspect of it. We don't even see that when it's on Ilum, I don't think. And, we just see it firing out. So I'm fine with it, I guess. Like, I don't know. No issues. What about you, John?
I think I'm 50-50 with it because like I think one of my big hits with the sequels was like Starkiller Base. I was like, oh, and I took flack for this on one of my posts, but it was like they're like, oh, I didn't get the hate on that, and I was like, well, my hate is that it's the Death Star 3, like literally, and it blows up with one missile again, kind of type vibe. So it's just like when we see the big laser guns, I'm like, I'd rather see like, if like we think of like immediate threats that we could pull from, it's like go pull a version of like the Katana fleet or something where it's like some random fleet that's highly sophisticated, that's AI or something that's sitting out there. I don't know. But then that's like my only hit, where on the other side was I really like how, Zima had to use the Force to correct the crystals inside it for it to be able to like fire and operate under these pretenses that the crystal probably didn't want to be operating under within the Force. So like I thought that was a cool little piece where it was like, yeah, instead of just plugging the crystal in and amping it up and firing it, it's like, no, without blowing everyone up around you, it's like you actually had to have a Force user like tune it more or less. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I go back and forth on this aspect of like, because I am a big history person and like history repeats itself. So it's like almost like we're seeing this trend of, people take, conquest and people fighting against it, rebellions and all this stuff. So it's interesting to think about in that lens, because like it could in real life, some of these things do repeat themselves. So why wouldn't it happen within our stories as well? But I'm also know that Star Wars can do different villains. And the High Republic is such a great example of that, like Jimmy mentioned. And that guy isn't even a Jedi, so like, or a Sith. So we are capable of making these new stories and these new threats, and I would just like them to explore other avenues. And like you said, with like an AI, that's a really interesting concept as well. So I don't hate it, but I think for this story it worked. And so a lot of people are saying and having a little bit of mixed reviews on this as well, with the front half of this series being a bit slow and then the back half of this really, really saves it. Would you guys agree with that? What are your thoughts on the story, I guess, and the pacing of it as a whole? John?
I don't mind context, so I think is my thing. So it's like I actually prefer it when it's like, like when I get into it with people with Andor, it's like, they're like, it's slow, and I'm like, yeah, dude, but it's like season 1 is the context, it's like the same thing with Ahsoka. Like season 1 is going to be a lot of context, and season 2 is probably going to be a lot of action. It's needed for the characters. Like I like getting to know the characters, the background, the struggles they're going through, like the surrounding environment, what's going on. So like for them to build that up in the first half and then to jump into the problem, the threat, like the solution, I'm like, all right, cool. Like, for me, it works. There wasn't a point where I was watching where I was like, this feels slow for me, except for the duckbill. That was filler for me for sure, where it was just like, but I'm still watching it. I'm still taking it in. But then you go straight from the duckbill to action, and from action to, problem with Zima and all these, so I don't know. I think it's like I understand where they're coming from, but for me, it wasn't really too much of a miss.
Yeah. I felt like the story moved forward. I felt like they did a good job of building up. I mean, you need to have watched those first 2 episodes, I think. I mean, I guess technically you don't need to have watched those first 2 Visions volumes to kind of understand this. I mean, I think it makes it easier, but I didn't have any problem with the first half versus the second half. I mean, it should build up. I mean, that's storytelling. Like, you can't just come out of the gate. I mean, you come out of the gate. There was good fight scenes. There was different things. There's some good stuff in all those episodes. Them struggling a little bit. I mean, I'm just fine with it. I don't have any problems with it overall. I wouldn't want to sit down and watch all 4 hours at once, though. Like, I do
No.
think it hindered me not having time to, like, watching 2 episodes and taking a break or whatever. So, but no, I thought it was fine. I thought it was good.
Yeah. I think it's a
So,
great self-contained story. It's something kind of like what they did with Visions of Itself, the first 2 episodes. They tell a story and it leaves you at a point that you could be satisfied with what you just saw, or you could expand upon it, which I think is a really smart way to do this. And I really liked your, counterpoint, John, to people that are like, you need context. That's such a great way to look at it for things that like feel slow to people. It's like, no, you need all this so you can get that payoff. I really like that point.
yeah, you got to tell those stories. Like, you
Yeah.
got to feel for these people. You got to know these people. And like, John, like you said, the only way to do that is to watch them go through stuff. I mean, that's why I think that if we get more Rey and we watch her struggle to try to create the new Jedi Order, people won't dislike her as much as they do. I mean, there's still going to be people that hate her, but those people are doing it for the wrong reasons for the most part. Not some of them just legitimately don't like her, but just like Ahsoka, we've talked about that a million times in this show. Like, everyone hated her and then they watched her and she grew on them. And, so I think that, they did this in 8 episodes or 10 episodes really, because you got 20 minutes the first time, like, I don't know, was it 20 or 25 minutes the next time? And then you got 4 hours of it. So, I thought it was pretty good. I liked it. So,
Yeah.
but, do you guys think that it not being canon, like, is that better or worse? Like, how do you guys feel about, like, the vision stuff? I know we talked about that the time we got together. We talked about that, the trailer for it, but does it take anything away from it for you guys since it's not canon? Or what do you think? Like, for me, I'm perfectly fine with it. I just have the question, like, is this the first time anyone's had a big giant death ray? It was the only thing I really would want to know, because I'm like, oh man, they're even repeating themselves in this one. But, how do you guys feel about that?
I don't know how I feel. Let me think.
I'm happy it's not canon.
Yeah.
In the very, like, and I'm thinking about this with the community where it's like, it would have gotten torn apart for the lightsabers, for different things, like, if it was canon, like, there's so many different aspects where, like, people would have been like, that's not how it works, that's not blah, 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 and so I think removing itself, and again, almost like when I think of the Mando and Grogu movie, it's like, it's a Star Wars story, like Han Solo Star Wars story, like, it's not a main application to this, like, Skywalker saga, but it's still in the universe. It's still like with that type of, it's still a Star Wars story, like, there's lightsabers, there's good guys, there's bad guys, there's the Force. So like, I think I like that it's not, because I can kind of keep my own, like, I really enjoy it. And I don't know if my views would be the same if they were like, hey, this is a canon, that happened, 10,000 years later,
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's valid. It does say it's like set, like, in this theory, it's like 1,000 or so years after the stuff that we know, right? Like, in its canon. So that's kind of interesting that things have changed. Is it? I mean, I think this is a topic for another time, but I think things need to change in the new Jedi Order. If Rey, like, why would? Yeah. Anyways, we'll get. I'm sure we'll get into that down the road. But, Krissy, do you want to go ahead and jump into, like, segment 4 here, and we can just kind of wrap this things up with some of these questions?
Segment 4. So do you think like Dave Filoni and company can learn from this? Like, are they kind of shackled to this continuity that they have? Like, do you agree that, like, Dave Filoni's projects could learn from, like, a series like this that is not canon, but it's taking some risks and is connecting a little bit to some canon lore we know about? Because, like, watching it, I saw some pieces. I was like, okay, this is definitely, like, inspired and taken from what we know with, like, the current timeline within Star Wars. So, what do you think Dave Filoni and company could take away from this series? I guess with our main line.
I think there's bits and pieces. Like, I'm a big proponent of feedback is feedback, whether it's positive or negative. Like, it's still a composition, and to be able to take something and then add it to your project and move forward. So I think there's different pieces where it's like, like I really like the lightsaber combat. I really like the space combat vibes. Like I really like when they immerse you in that, and whether it's just for a few seconds, it's like when they're doing it right in my eyes. It's like there's a lot going on. They're showing like explosions happening in the background. There's scenery on the planet. Like there's different things happening. And then like with I think with the choices of like the bounty hunters, for example, like I feel like there's a lot of like people not like him just being like, oh yeah, I'm your friend now. It's like I love that aspect where it's like he's just a bounty hunter. There's not like in canon Star Wars, I don't think that would happen. Like you wouldn't get the bad guy's like sidekick to just like turn over and he'd be like, no, I have loyalty ties. Like, dude, you're a bounty hunter, you do it for money. So I think there's different aspects where within the show that could take it. But that's just, being, respectful of other people's projects that are successful. Like you can't look at something that succeeds and being like, oh, that's garbage,
Mm-hmm.
So there's different pieces, and I think that's the same for most Star Wars projects, but I do think they could take aspects of this, and whether that's a season 2 with Visions, whether that's a season 2 of its own project, like they could, whether it's implementing aspects of that into the main canon, like I could see that happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, like I said, with the whole new Jedi Order part, like, I feel like they can learn, like, you just go tell a story, like, tell a story you want to tell. Like, this is a really good self-contained story. And I understand that we have almost 50 years now of Star Wars, it doesn't have to hold us back though. Like, the imagination, because my point is this: when they created the Ninth Jedi for this Volume 1, there is no way I would believe that they thought that they were going to be doing another 4 hours of content with it. But they used their imaginations and they made it work. I think they did a better job of like connecting the dots than what they did for like the sequel trilogy. Do you know what I mean? They were able to say, well, we had the story. How do we make it make sense now that we got to expand on it? And they did that. I just think like, move away from stuff, change things, do something with it. And I think that maybe they'll inspire them. I do think there's stuff here that Dave could learn from. And I also think, Dave's got a background in anime, with the shows that he worked on prior to it. I don't think he's afraid. I don't know. Maybe he is afraid. It's got to be scary to like be the one who changes everything, especially when your mentor was who your mentor was. But I do think there's a lot to learn from this episode because I thought they did a good job of just mixing, again, there's no pressure on it because it's not canon, but I feel like it delivered with the story and creating the new Jedi Order and all that kind of stuff that we're all kind of just sitting here waiting for. And if it just motivates Filoni to be like, hey, let's get this moving. Let's change some things. I think they laid some groundwork in the Legacy book. The conversation between Leia and with Rey about a community, not a academy kind of thing, and so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I do think there's a lot that they can learn from this. Just storytelling, it's not that hard. These people have awesome imaginations. It's their job. Like they need to figure it out. So I don't want this. I don't want them taking Ninth Jedi and turning it into, Rey, all of a sudden these lightsabers do this, or like that would be silly. But I do think there's a lot for them to learn, and they could take away from this storytelling aspects of it.
So Jimmy, John, would you like to see a season 2 of the Ninth Jedi? What are your final thoughts, I guess, regarding that and this series and this story? Would you want to see more of it? Do you want to see what happens with Nawaam? Like, is it a red saber? Did he just take everybody down? Is there no more council? What are you thinking, John?
Yeah, I would love to see a second season. I think for me, like again, I was sitting there like when he handed over the lightsaber to Nawaam at the end, I was just like I was shooketh. It was one of those things where I was like, dog, like I was hoping he would just like say something petty and then that would end it kind of. But no, to see the great the great antagonist get the weapon of choice again. It's like, okay, surely there's a reason he got beat. He knew he could have died. Like he had that inner or outer body experience where he watched himself, almost die. So then I think it's like, that we could switch to, if there is that bigger bad, it's like, think of Kara and Nawaam fighting side by side. Like they would be going ham next to each other. So I think seeing that is like I would be interested to see where they would take it with the external threats of the galaxy. But if Nawaam was like the big bad of the galaxy, it's like, where do you go from there?
That's what. Yeah, I'm 100% down for a season 2. I think it was a great first season. I love everything we got with it so far. I do wonder, how do you up the ante as far as a bad guy is concerned? But I want to see a lot of Jedi fighting a lot of Sith. Like and now we have a Jedi Order. You jump 5-10 years in advance. Car's a little bit older, and now we have Jedi academies, and we've got lots of, I think it could be really cool. It could be interesting. I don't know exactly what you want to do with it, just, off the top of my head, but I do think there's a lot more stories they could tell here. And like you said, John, it would be interesting to see, like, maybe Noam's struggling, you know what I mean? He's struggling, and then maybe there's a Snoke type character that's talking to him on the side, and he's just, I don't want another Kylo Ren, but, he's gonna be like an addict. It's never gonna just be okay. Like, he's gonna have to fight the dark side every single day. And I think that would be good storytelling, like pretty powerful stuff. So yeah, down for a season 2. I would be curious as to, what happens when he turns on the lightsaber and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm here
When
for
Kara
it.
finds out that he handed over a lightsaber, like,
"Dad,
what? You did what?
You did what?" Cuts off his other leg, and there you go. So,
Yeah,
Krissy, do you want a season 2?
this series really is something to me. I didn't hate it. Let me just say that. I didn't dislike it. I don't know. I've struggled with it. I think even from when we had John originally, when I talked about it, to the first half of this season, it's something about this series I'm really struggling with. I liked the lightsaber aspect. I kind of liked this villain and what he went through and how he became who he is. There's aspects of it that I really like. And I do think that this is a very solid story that's self-contained in one season. So I don't know, with that struggle of me kind of placing this on a ranking, or like where I like it and where I don't, it's kind of just like very middle of the road for me. But I won't say no to more Star Wars, is where I'm at with this. And I'll probably watch season 2 if they make it. And if people loved this and they really want a season 2, I hope they get that as well. So, I mean, like I said, I'm never going to say no to more Star Wars, whether or not I'm in love with it or not. This one's just kind of like, here we go. I enjoyed it. I had a time with it, and now we're done. But that's kind of where I am with this season. So I hope everyone out there who really, really loved it does eventually get to see these characters again, because I know how that feels, how like wanting to see a character you really love or wanting to see a story that you're really invested in progress. So that's my final thoughts on it.
All right. No, that's fair.
Yeah.
I would be curious, like, folks, if you're listening, maybe you've listened to this and you haven't watched it. Why haven't you watched it? You're listening to this and you have watched it. Do you want a season
Spoiler alert.
2? Yeah, spoiler alert.
We ruined it.
Yeah, we ruined it for you. It's pretty good. But what do you want? Do you want a season 2? What does a season 2 look like for you? Did season 1 work? Like, just let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. John, before we get out of here, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, moving forward?
Yeah, on Instagram, TikTok, Boba Fett with 3 T's. On YouTube, it's the Boba Fett with 3 E's, because it was taken by someone else who was cooler than me. But no, other than that, you can find us every Sunday on YouTube live at Clan Fett, where Clan Brandalorian and myself, we go live. We talk about Star Wars, Lego, all that good stuff. 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. But other than that, that's the basis. We're just guys being dudes. I appreciate we woke up today, so shout out to that. Tell someone you love them. And other than that, man, I truly appreciate being here to talk about Star Wars with you guys.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, and I'm glad we got to finish this journey together as a group. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Just like in the episode, we went full circle. So, all right. Thanks, John.
All right, and that wraps up our full review for Star Wars: The Ninth Jedi. Hope you all enjoyed our conversations and discussions about it. But let's go ahead and get on out of here. If you have any questions or just want your voice heard, then DM us on our social medias or send us an email or voice note at exploretheforce@gmail.com. And remember to like this episode and share it with your Star Wars friends and family. And to follow us on all of our social media platforms, all you need to do is search Explore the Force, all one word. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you want to show your support and spread the word around by image as well as voice, then head on over to Redbubble and search Explore the Force, where you can purchase unique merchandise. And a massive thank you to everyone interacting with us via our social media. You keep this podcast amazing.
Yes, and finally, you've been listening or watching Explore the Force. We have spoken. We'll see y'all next week.
Yay.
Only now, at the end, do you understand?
Close your eyes. Feel it.
Wise as Master Yoda, as powerful as Master Windu.
They'll do their job well. I'll guarantee that.
I am going to end this once and for all.
You were the chosen one!